sure I'm not alone when it comes to receiving your postal voting form for the local body elections, greeted with the same level of elation as getting a warrant of fitness reminder for the car. 6 out of 10 Kiwis just ignore voting altogether. A mindset I do tend to share, only I've made this rather onerous task more interesting, carried on a family legacy that in effect works something like this. Where there's no real choice, the differential points between the sensible and the not so sensible are blurred. They are all a wasted vote of varying degrees. I simply vote for the most wacko candidate that tickles my sixth sense of humour. In Christchurch, that process can be rather difficult, given that perennially there's always been a long list of eccentrics to pick the eyes out of. That's why I didn't even need Google to drum up this list. I simply remembered them for all the wrong reasons. Some of them I proudly admit voting for. Those 3 names at the end. The fun begins with woo-woo warning. Carolyn wanted to introduce mass public transcendental meditation as a way to reduce crime and stress in Christchurch. Apparently, all of which would have an effect on the city's coherence fields, whatever they are. She also believes people can fly. 1998 was truly a bumper year. There was Graham Fraser, the Black Lodge, who intimated the town was run by some unnamed sinister group with hidden influences. His words, not mine. 2001 was also another hard one to pick the eyes out of. Let's say you were into a fringe conspiracy, a pseudoscience when it came to, say, health, and then perhaps it's just me not running under the banner conspiracy-laden health concerns, rabbiting on about FM radio towers killing animals on your farm, may attract a few more votes. Ran for Christchurch Mayor in 2001 as an openly single policy candidate. That policy being what? Creating a bylaw banning the inclusion of any vegetable other than a bit of onion in bacon and egg pies. 461 people supported this noble cause to preserve the integrity of this culinary icon. Yes, he is wearing a t-shirt from the National Front, and yes, it is that National Front. Although he did have 50 cents either way in 2007 in the mayoralty run then he was with the National Democrats, trying to put that bitterness past, the attempted arson of a marae, a Maori meeting house, behind him. He ventured forth to recreate a real Minehead by-election skit by Monty Python. Chapman was never really going to challenge the success of his German idol. He did, however, finish 5th in 2007 in a field of 10 male aspirants, the left-wing vote being further split by the Anti-Capitalist League and the Communist Party. That election was possibly the last time anywhere on the planet we've had a Nazi and communist on the same ballot since, say, Berlin or Milan in the 30s. Just to prove you can't keep a fat Aryan down, the military-fatigued Chapman acted as bodyguards for Carl Bromley when he had a crack at the number 1 job in 2022. The happy, clappy pastor came in one better, a not-too-shabby 4th. Also running at the last election, Nick Nitro. Buzz Lightyear was taking a year out. Mr. Nitro identified as, wait for it, Maori, Samoan, Pākehā and Anglican, and not Catholic, given Nikora had a conviction for soliciting sex from an underage teenage male for money, cigarettes and a cell phone credit. At one point, Nitro operated an unlicensed cafe in the city which doubled as, how do I put this, a meeting place where men could meet other men. Meat spelt M-E-A-T. Now sporting a flash AI renditioned Moku facial tattoo. Hoping no one in this town has Google to look up his history, Nick is a candidate this year. In 2013, Victor finished a mere 71,000 votes behind the winner and 21,000 votes behind the second place getter, and he was not happy. The enterprising and quixotic Catamol has a page and a bit on the New Zealand Companies Office dedicated to his business acumen, specifically the lack of it. 3 years later, the chagrined Catamol claimed to be leading a consortium to buy the then Premier League club, Portsmouth. Now he appears to have landed on his avatar's feet. He's a prince, no less, of the virtual state of Cogito, where you pay to join and use proprietary cryptocurrency to pay for things. Best guess, Cogito is some sort of get-rich Second Life scheme. I did say the list that I had was interesting, didn't I? And keep a mental note, because I did vote for 3 on the list. Answers at the end. McGillicuddy Serious consistently took the piss out of politics at national and local level between 1984 and 1999. There was a bit of a crossover in policies in their overall strategy, which was called the Great Leap Backwards. Some of those nationwide policies included replacing money with a chocolate fish, making homosexuality compulsory for 1 in 3 adults. They tried to get a hedgehog elected. Their defence policy was to place full bottles of beer on beaches to distract any invaders. In the local body elections here in Christchurch, 3 of the policies I remember well were to push the population of Christchurch off the plains and onto the Port Hills, what they called the Highlandification of Canterbury, more mist, and my favourite, rip out the Waimak River stock banks, flood the city, and make it the Venice of the South. My father, who was dying of cancer at the time, cast his vote for McGillicuddy on the basis he could leave his grandchildren a legacy. In a tragic irony, the council, under the stewardship of what supposedly was a serious, forthright mayor, Bob Parker, went close to achieving McGillicuddy's serious master plan, underinsuring the city's infrastructure to the tune of $1.7 billion, thus effectively bankrupting the city when it came to the big quake. And before you say,
who would vote for those loons?
And I'm not just talking about Bob Parker, who, you can't make this shit up, received a civil award in 2014 for financially ruining the town. Heaps voted for McGillicuddy. Example of which is a good one. Barry Bryant came third in the mayoral race in 1995. And oh yeah, I think the bloke behind the Black Lodge could well have been part of a McGillicuddy breakaway group. Oh, sorry, breakaway clan. When my voting forms come in the mail, I automatically gravitate to the bio of one Robert Michael Tubby Henson, who, in somewhat of a record in two-finger defiance, has been a candidate in both local body and general elections since 1965, or is it 69? 34 times at a rough guess. And yes, he does use his sobriquet Tubby, perhaps a play for the fat vote. Where do I start on the harmless Mr. Tubby Henson? But before I do, I've done a video on other Christchurch-centric, virtually a neighbour of Mr. Henson, just 3 streets over, was one Earl, a dog with a bone, constable. He also ran for council. He also pestered politicians, got embroiled in a messy, unwinnable court case, and then he held up the progress of the main arterial road, and then for good measure made a bomb threat. Link at the end and in the description. Tubby, Tubby, Tubby. So much content to use. Let me have somewhat of a crack. Get to the tip of the iceberg. Let's start with the impending talk of massive floods, yes them, again, causing dormant volcanoes to explode. Moving from that, an unnamed rest home was in danger of exploding and taking everyone with it. Ceiling fans speaking to him in high-pitched voices, chastising his rivals for hiring planes to buzz his house and keep him up at night. Believed the key to improving the lives of Christchurch residents was a new fridge in every household. If elected, he would dedicate Saturday mornings for a massage. Wanted a closed free area allocated in Christchurch's main cathedral square. That year he ran under the banner of progressive nudists. He wanted to commit the homeless into psych units to keep them off the street. And my favourite, not content with buzzing his house, his rivals had used a ray gun to disable his truck. That's the rusted one in your picture. In a world which is now suffocating in humanist wokeness, where intelligent people are silenced not to upset the stupid, the Wizard of Christchurch remains an icon for those that enjoy a traditional piss take. Some of this mayoral aspirant's beauties included: claims a woman caused all wars by shopping too much, skydiving over Christchurch chanting spells, rewriting physics as we know it with his inside-out universe theory, claimed to be a work of art and thus exempt filling out a census form. He got a fine of $100 for that. Then later started up a non-census political party, and along with Colonel Catford on the left and Commander Everson planned to go outside the 12-mile maritime boundary on census day. At exactly 1:10 a.m. on December the 4th, 1974, the cosmologies converged, and with the right hexes, this would allow him to depart Christchurch Airport in a flash and then appear on the other side of the planet, minus an aircraft. Formed Alf's Imperial Army to uphold all good things English. They went into stage mock battles with McGillicuddy Sirius in Hagley Park using rolled-up newspapers and water pistols, in which Alf's Supreme Commander, the Duke of Wellington, called a holy war. Would it surprise you? Probably not. I once fought for Alf's. And now, thank you for getting this far, the part you were waiting for, I will reveal which of these political figures I voted for. I carried on the family legacy with McGillicuddy. That bylaw should have included public flogging for any errant baker who wanted to test our resolve. Lastly, talk about Hobson's choice in 2016. You've got a patronising socialist succubus. Then there's a renter Marxist protester for your local school fair. However, there was another bloke. Think ceiling fans, clothing optional city square. Go the tubster. Bye for now.